So when we first reviewed the B6C, we kind of had fun with it going through our standard review, just looking at it as a firearm. What we didn't do was look at it as potential carry gun. During the process of shooting it, Tia enjoyed it quite a bit and thought it might make for a good carry gun. We lucked out, and Alien Gear has an outside the waistband holster that fits it. It's a little stiff, a little broad, but it's a holster that fits it. Speaking of a little stiff, the safety was one of our concerns during that review. It's gotten a little bit softer. And while I was drawing and Tia was drawing, we have been activating and deactivating the safety. Deactivate on the presentation, take the shot, while reholstering, putting the safety back on. Thought I'd take some more shots through it since you guys wanted to see more shots. We also were a little concerned about the feed issues we had with the ammo then. Even though it's 2021 and ammo is hard to get, it just so happens the ammo we get our hands on is not the same stuff we had in that first video. So that's what we're going to be playing with today.
So a few months ago, we asked you what of the SAR's firearms you wanted us to revisit, and I was so glad when you said the B6C, and that's what we have today for you for a revisit.
So we reviewed the B6C before you went to Front Sight.
Yes.
And probably a couple dozen gun reviews ago.
Probably. It's been a while. I believe it was before ammo got crazy absent.
Oh. Anyways, we brought it back because you guys asked for it, and Tia was a big fan of it. I admired it. It was just a little bit on the small side for my hand and preference, but I thought the single action, double action was good. And
I was growing to appreciate those extra safety features more on firearms, and I think that's why at the time I said that I enjoyed it so much, and that it, you know, it was something that I really wanted to consider for a carry gun.
But extra stuff, having the single action, double action, having a safety, things like that, does take more learning.
It does.
So we went to Front Sight, 4-day handgun course. Many of you saw the videos from that, and what were you running there?
The Walther P99 AS, which is a double action, single action. And so I was able to grow my confidence in my ability to confidently and competently execute those shots accurately.
Under speed.
Under time. And so now coming back to the BB6, the B6C.
Not carrying the BB6.
B's in the world. I feel a lot more comfortable and confident that I could carry this, and the fact that we've been able to find a holster that fits it in a position that fits me and my carry style, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and so that's another challenge and a thing that I don't think gets addressed very often in videos, in forums. When people talk about guns, they just have their favorite gun, they have their carry gun. They don't often seem to be the same thing. And part of that is for a lot of people, depending on your body size, your clothing style, your body shape, your carry gun may not, maybe you can't carry your favorite gun. Tia, you're currently carrying?
I carry a shield, and I carry it in front appendix, and I have because I've tried so many options that you've offered, that you have holsters for, that are inner waistband, outer waistband, that fit on at the 3 o'clock, and they just don't work for my body type. Curves hit people in different places, bumps prevent effective carry.
And it's not just where it can be concealed, it's also, you got to consider where you can draw from.
Right.
This holster, as we'll show you, will roll in some B-roll of how it's sitting on you now. Were it to be in an appendix position, would not be in a practical draw location for you.
Not for this size gun, simply because I've got a short space here, and if the gun was appendix, it would be right up underneath all of, you know, my unmentionables, and or pointing, or, you know, having the barrel of it into my leg where it would make walking even uncomfortable. So those are a lot of the things that, especially when people are considering purchasing firearms for others, that you can't take into consideration for another. It really has to be something that they try for themselves, and try for more than, you know, a couple of seconds. Move around with it. It's like finding a great pair of shoes for the ball.
Or the question I often get hit with is the best holster, which there are several answers to. And first you have to answer, what are you carrying, where are you carrying, what is your body shape and size, what is your clothing style, and what is your comfort threshold. For me, the Grand Power K100 is, you know, practically a duty size gun. Yes, I have my finger on the hammer intentionally. But this is not something that I personally could comfortably carry appendix. It just wouldn't work. Too much pizza and beer. I'm not sure what it is for me, but that's just not a comfortable spot for me. So I carry slightly off the hip. With the B6C and Tia's torso length and hip length in appendix, it might be a little too long on the barrel side, maybe not. Carrying it ride height, normal to high, not the appendix deep, it would be a little too close underneath. Underneath more
it's
of
kind
Tia.
of too high.
So we have this alien gear outside the waistband that basically hip ride is where it works, that we've been playing with. And now we're just taking a second look at the B6C as a carry gun in this kind of situation. We also know that it's now more realistic as a potential carry gun. Tia's become more comfortable with dealing with hammer fire and external safeties and all that kind of stuff. So let's do some shooting. We'll do some draws on steel to get a feel for it.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure if we had the spinner target in our videos back when we did the first B6C. So we'll give it a try at the spinner. What that tests and all that, we'll explain when we get to that. Let's get to it. So the spinner target. This is from Titan Great Outdoors. We did a video on it a while back, and it's become actually a valuable judge of how acceptable a firearm is. Reason being is you hit the steel, it starts swinging, and if you want to get it over the top, you got to hit it while it's swinging away. If you hit it on the way in, you kill the momentum, almost game over. So you're trying to hit it while it hits away. The more it swings, the faster it's moving, and the more difficult it is to hit. So, as it applies to firearms, is sight picture, predictability of the trigger, plus the added stress of the swinging steel, giving you a force-timed shot, if you will. So we like to use this to look at how well a gun's trigger and sights work for us. That's not to say that an expert shooter couldn't do better, or that a novice wouldn't do worse. It just doesn't work for us with this gun for this challenge. We're about 12 yards away, and we're using the Igman 115 grain ball. Not entirely sure if it's got the energy to do it yet, especially with a shorter barrel, but that's another consideration. And as you watch more of our videos with these spinner targets, you'll see some of them really hit that thing, some of them not so much. So we've given ourselves 10 shots to try it. I'll go first, after which Tia either embarrasses me or scolds me the whole way home. Let's get to it.
Scolding it shall be.
Scolding it shall be. That's a 4-shot victory by default because it came apart on us. That's part of the nice thing of that setup, is it's so portable. It unfortunately had enough momentum to pull it apart. So my notes on that, the reset is very definitive. It's a nice click, but it's also a bit more travel. So I found myself having to slow down a little bit because the reset was a longer reach for my finger before I was ready to begin. So I couldn't quite shoot as fast as the comfort of the gun and the sight picture would have let me. So, which are all positives of the gun, except that reset was a little bit longer. In a defensive situation, would that cause a short stroke panic, or would that be the extra length of reset needed to decide not to shoot and avoid going to jail? That's kind of an up to you thing, but it's something to know about this gun. I'm gonna go set that back up and we'll give Tia a shot.
So in the name of conserving ammo, if Graham can do it in 4, 6 should theoretically be enough for me, and I've saved 10 rounds. Let's see if I can get that over the top. I'll take the safety off and try again. Damn it. Excuse the language. So it would have been enough had I not slowed myself down. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And like Graham mentioned, you do have to slow down a little bit with the trigger, but the getting back on target and not having the gun move in your hand readjusting or anything, just, I don't know, it just seemed easier to do with this than it has with some of the other guns that we've done this test with in the past. I don't have the technical information to tell you why that is, but I definitely felt a lot more comfortable and confident with my ability to do that with the B6C.
You know what this inspires actually is one more thought of a way we can test this, since it forced a slowdown for me sometimes when I didn't want it, but also sometimes when I wanted it, is why don't we try some controlled pairs on the steel and see if we deliver them, if they hit where they need to. You know, sometimes when I'm doing controlled pairs, I often race the gun, let off 2 blazing fast shots that aren't acceptable on our reduced size target from the distance we shoot steel at.
However, knowing that we've both had proper training, should we not put that on paper to make sure our controlled pairs are in a tight group rather than on a 12-inch piece of steel?
But it's YouTube and people like to hear the dings. It's not about marksmanship. Okay, we'll do it for real. We'll put it on a full-size torso at a defensive distance and see what kind of pairings we get out of it. Coming up next. All right, so Tia's idea, we're gonna do practical controlled pairs. Actually looking at where those hits would be. We're each gonna take 10 rounds of the same Igman 115 ball. And at 7 yards, we have your standard torso target. Tape already on there because, well, we recycle. So we're going to each get 5 controlled pairs, ideally pairs, trying to see how pairable this is here. And the camera is going to be showing you the torso while we shoot, so you can see where those shots land to see if it's working. I'm probably going to try to start slower and then work my way up to speed. Between each pair, I'm going to come down to a low ready and then bring it up and engage that time. So I'm also getting sight picture acquisition and all of that practice in at the same time. See how this does. Safety was on and it worked. That time, that reset tripped me a little bit. Doing a longer stroke, so kind of throwing my finger off the trigger, it was a lot easier to fire faster. That's probably my speed limit right there. I threw one a little high. So, did the trigger reset thing become an issue? No, just had to learn how to shoot the gun. I think that worked. For me, I was doing stroke and off versus tapping on like I would with a shorter reset gun. It was on and off each time. Serviceable in my eyes. Let's see what Tia thinks.
All right, so here goes my 10 control, or 5 controlled pairs for 10 shots. The same distance that Graham was at. Yeah. Kind of surprised myself with that. For that one that was low, I absolutely felt that happen. Shouldn't have pulled, I should have came back down. Oh, there really is never enough ammo. It's always interesting when we do something like this. It takes a while to get warmed up, and I think that stands to prove that it's really important to practice with your firearms, because it took me a minute to have that confidence to be able to run those shots a little bit faster and to put them a little bit closer together like they should be. Overall, I'm not upset with what I was able to do, given the amount of time that it's been since I was at the range last, and that this is kind of the first time that we've ever done this kind of an analysis on our shooting ability. So overall, I'm still really pleased with this, and probably more so now than I was, especially given the fact that we've found a holster, and this holster works really well for me. I will have to change my style, if you will, so that I can incorporate more overcoats. That's an old word, but something that, you know, covers me. So, because this is an outer waistband holster, which I have found to be more comfortable, and this one holds it tight enough to my body. So thank you for choosing this for us to revisit.
Now, when, and I think your control pairs were at a decent pace. There was nothing too slow about them, nor did you race it, and they're all solid hits. You had one out of the A zone, and competitive shooters would call that a Saturday event. That's not bad at all. When we first eval'd this gun, we were looking for what you might take to front sight, and we kind of considered it, but I was concerned, one, we only had one magazine for it, and then two, that the safety was a little stiff. And I want to say, I've noticed this safety has softened up a little bit. It's gotten a little easier to do. We also had feed issues that we have not experienced with this Igman ammo. So it might have just been that ammo was wrong. I mean, we haven't cleaned the gun since, so it's still dirty. We didn't polish the feed ramp. We just have smoother ammo.
Well, and some of you viewers have commented too that had similar feed issues, that after a few more rounds and just breaking the gun in, that you didn't have those issues, and that could be what we're running into also. I would absolutely take this to front sight now. The double action, single action, safety on, safety off isn't as much of a point of anxiety as it was in the past, and that's only going to come with more practice. So if that's what you have and you're not comfortable shooting it, and you haven't practiced it, just practice.
So that's our revisit of the B6C. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We looked at it in ways that we don't typically look at guns. But that's because for us personally, it was a more serious look at, is this a viable carry option? Whereas our normal reviews, we're just testing how's the gun function, how's it run. We leave it up to you to decide if that's something that you want to look into more or not. In this case, this is an example of how we looked into something more, and we hope you follow a similar regimen in deciding on a carry gun. Thanks for watching.